Welcome, Central Community, to the Central Unified School Board meeting for October 25, 2022. I'm calling the meeting to order. Attendance, all board members are attending. Adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Creel. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Cervantes. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Communication from the public on closed session items. Ms. Brooks, do we have anybody holding? No? All right. Do we have anyone holding online?
We have no comments by phone at this time, setting 30 seconds on the clock.
Thank you, sir.
Thirty seconds have passed, and we have no comments by phone at this time.
Thank you, sir. I now adjourn the meeting into closed session.
More chairs back there, just for the meeting after.
Oh, okay.
And there's a projector and laptop. People walk in and go.
Good evening. I call the meeting back in order. Ms. Davis, do you want to do a report out?
Yes, please. Item E2, trustee Cervantes made a motion, second by trustee Brooks, 7-0 was the vote. And on item E3, trustee Carrillo made the motion, trustee Cervantes second, 7-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item G. Mr. Chan, do you want to do the pledge? And thank you for the use of your flag, Mr. Cervantes. Item H, employee recognition.
Thank you, President Solis. This evening, I want to introduce and welcome to the microphone Athletic Director, Mr. Ray Hightower at Central East High School to share more about some wonderful accolades from two of our track coaches from the 2022 season.
All right, thank you. As part of the national partnership with the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association, the Marines have the opportunity to recognize the top track coaches throughout the nation, state by state. The winners they were selected based on their team performance last year. And our two coaches here to be recognized are the boys track and field coaches of the year for winning the state championship on our boys side of our program. So congratulations to Coach Gary Davis and Coach Cedric Pulliam.
Moving on to item H2, Foundation for Central Schools.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. On behalf of the Foundation for Central Schools, I'm Serena Dohe, Executive Director. Just giving you a quick update of this last part of our year. We're going to finish really strong. But first, I just want to say thank you to all of you for supporting this year's State of the District. We had a sold-out event at Holland Park West with over 200 attendees, as well as we awarded 23 grants, totaling slightly over $23,000. That was our biggest year, which supports our classroom projects and school clubs. We are also honored for the first time 5 foundation champions. And one of those champions was Mr. Gary Davis. I think he just exited, but he was honored as well, along with 4 other colleagues, educators, and 1 community member. So we were excited to bring that as part of the State of the District this year. Additionally, we wrapped up the Granville Home of Hope, and not only did we support our district, we also supported 11 other local nonprofits in the Central Valley and helped raise $1 million to invest back into the Fresno County community. The foundation directly sold nearly 700 tickets, and our award was $83,410. That was about $20,000 more than last year. So as our second year back in the Granville Home of Hope, we're even more excited to do this again in spring of next year. Just a little overview of where some of that money is going. $17,000 will go directly back to our schools and clubs. This was designated by our families who purchased tickets. They had the opportunity to choose a school or club to directly support. $45,000 is going towards the purchase of the warm for winter sweaters and jackets. And we are purchasing slightly over 2,500 units of outerwear this year. These funds will also help fund 3 of our clothing closets across the district, and it will also further sustain our scholarship program. So as I mentioned, our annual Warm for Winter event is made possible by the Granville Home of Hope. I just want to say a big thank you to the Assistance League of Fresno, who also helps us take care of that big purchase price for our students. This year's distribution of spirit wear, sweaters, and jackets will begin tomorrow. So we've already contacted those schools that are going to be receiving those sweaters just in time as this weather starts to dip. I'd also like to just say a big thank you to Marty and Crystal Martinez of TLG Apparel for taking time to create those spirit wear sweaters, sort and distribute all of our outerwear to each and every school site. A minimum of 100 units were given to each school this year. And our media day and event will take place on November 10th at Madison Elementary. So I did send out that invite, and I hope to see all of you there helping us on this day. And we will end this this year with our annual Holiday Joy Food Drive on December 17th at Central East High School once again. In conjunction, we will officially kick off the Central School's Wellbeing Project, which is supported by the Kaiser Permanente Northern California Community Benefits Program. Through this initiative, we will elevate our existing food distribution and provide holiday meals and groceries to our Central Unified families, plus provide access to resources for food access, health, and housing. There will be more information to come as we turn the page into November, and families can also learn about this project on our website later this year. Our next Board of Director meeting will be on November 16th, which will be our annual meeting and elections. We are also accepting applications for new Board of Directors, and we will review them at this meeting. So anyone interested in learning more on becoming a Board of Director, we encourage our community to do so. And all of this and further meeting dates, you can visit centralfoundation.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
President Solis,
Yes.
may I ask some questions?
Sure.
And follow up? Sorry. Can you tell us how many more units we are donating this year for the sweaters?
So we have a little over 400 units more this year.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought. And then I just wanted to thank you for your hard work. The financial growth and awareness that the foundation has been experiencing since you've joined the team has just been incredible. And this is a position that this board, and I know that I repeat this every year, but I know that there was criticism from our community and some from folks, but I think it's the best decision that one of the best decisions that we've made, given the support and the involvement in your dedication. So thank you very much for the growth and the donations that you're giving back to our community and our students. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or statements from the board? Thank you. Moving on to item H3, Employees Association. Kuda?
Good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendents. Today, I'm just going to report out on a couple items. So, as you know, school safety continues to be a concern on our campuses with our educators as well as our students, and I'm happy to say that we were able to convene on Tuesday, October 18th, our very first Safe Schools Advisory Committee. The purpose of this committee, and we have contractual language for this, The purpose of this committee is to support safety in our school district by providing valuable perspectives on topics regarding district-wide safety. So we had N.J. Gary, who's our CSEA president, as you know. The district had administrators there, as well as 2 students, which was, actually one student was their president, that was present that day. And then we had people on our team from every grade level that was representing. So the topics varied from communication, or protocols for communication, I should say, concern about continued social media threats, and anywhere from having drapes or curtains in their windows. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because we are working on that together with the district. We currently, the language says that we meet once a semester, but we made a decision that with the current situation, that we definitely need to be meeting sooner, and so we will be meeting again in November to address these topics. And then today, I had the opportunity and the pleasure to be a part of the Golden One Financial Wellness Challenge. And this was brought to us by Alyssa Fight and Shannon Farmer here at East Campus, and they have a consumer family class. And all I'm going to say is watch the news, Channel 30, because they were there, and they did a great job. Gilbert just shared with me what was on the news. They did a great job of talking about what our students got to take part in today. It was wonderful to see the kids interacting. Given they all were parents, and they were all either had a partner and or were single, and some of the students that were interviewed on the news, so please make a point to watch that. I will send you the link actually tonight so you don't miss it. It was just incredible to see what they were learning in their classes, and we actually had students also on the other side who were the owners of the stores. They had baby wellness, they had to buy a car, buy a home. Of course, technology was part of what they had to purchase. So it was just a great simulation and very well done. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Questions or statements from the board? Hearing none, moving on. I've been told that item H3B, California School Employees Association, has been tabled. Item I, Superintendent Board Communication. Ms. Davis.
Thank you. I've got a couple of things for you. First off, tonight on the consent agenda, I want to draw your attention to the resolution. This is an annual resolution. This is for Sikh Heritage Month, coming up in the month of November to be celebrated. We are very proud of our connection and collaboration with our families, and want to use this time to help educate our community. As you know, with resolutions, our libraries take on this work and infuse into their schools, activities, displays, literacy information. And then there are also events that occur, but not just in November, to celebrate all of our community throughout the year. A couple of other things. Judy just shared one. We all were pretty impressed with the financial literacy event, and so thank you to the whole team that put that together. Looking forward to seeing more of those types of activities occur. This is Red Ribbon Week. I have to say it slowly because it is a tongue twister. All throughout the district, there are activities and rallies to create awareness around the importance of being drug-free and being safe and making good choices. And so you've seen media on that throughout this fall. This week is a more organized week to do activities with students. Yesterday was our first student cabinet meeting, and so we had students from our middle schools and high schools meet together. Trustee Mailing joined us. Thank you for that, and Dr. Boatwright as well, and we had a really good conversation. It took a little bit to warm up, and then we were off and running. We did both some conversation about how to achieve the goals that we have established and identified, and then Alyssa, our Director of Nutrition, also brought in some food for them to taste test and make some decisions for future menus. So it was a good start. We'll be meeting again in December. A couple other quick things. Band, you may have heard over the weekend, there was a very large competition, the Sierra Cup Classic. Our high school bands competed. This was the 24th year. Central East High School won Best Music in Class AA and will advance to Nationals next month. And Justin Garza High School won first in Class A, as well as many other recognitions too. And I know our students and band directors have been working tirelessly. We've seen them out in the parking lots, we've seen them out on the fields, marching and practicing, so it was great to see the success of the group. And then lastly, this Saturday, I hope we see many people out at Central High School to celebrate its 100th birthday. The centennial is taking place at the high school, starts at 10 a.m., and we're looking forward to having a great event. There's been a team that's been planning that, and I think it's going to be a really fantastic day for our community. That's all for me.
Thank you. Any comments or announcements from the board? Ms. Creel?
Superintendent Davis, do we know how FFA performed at the fair? I know I went through and saw some of their animals, but I saw some of the ribbons hanging on there, and I'm wondering whether we have any
You'll be getting a presentation for it, and
Okay.
yes, they performed, I think, 3 or 4 pages worth of recognition and awards, so that'll be brought to you,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other questions or statements from the board? All righty, hearing none, moving on to item J, communications from the public for any agendized items. Ms. Brooks, do we have anyone holding?
No.
Thank you. Is anyone holding on the phone?
We have no comments by phone at this time, setting 30 seconds on the clock.
Thank you, sir.
Thirty seconds have passed, and we have no comments by phone at this time.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the consent agenda, item K. Ms. Lopez, can you call the first item?
It's the consent agenda. We just need one vote.
I have a motion by Mr. Cervantes, second by Ms. Creel. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The item passes. Now, Mrs. Lopez.
Moving on to action items. First item on the agenda is L1, Student Discipline, case number 22-23-002.
Ms. Davis? A vote? Okay. I'll take a motion to approve. I have a motion by Mr. Cervantes to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brooks. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
The item carries.
Next item on the agenda is L2, accept gifts to district. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. So tonight we have one gift. Central High School received an ag grant in the amount of $200 from the foundation at Fresno County Office of Education for Central High's FFA Club. And we want to thank them for their gift, and we are recommending the board accept this gift to the district.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or statements from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Paul and a second by Ms. Creel. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Ms. Lopez, call the next item.
Next item on the agenda is L3, hold public hearing and approve October's quarterly Williams Uniform Complaint Procedure. Mr. Horstman.
Good evening, President Solis, Trustees, Superintendent Davis. We're here to hold a public hearing and approve the October quarterly Williams Uniform Complaint Procedure. Reminder, this is compiled from principals and departments regarding any deficiencies in our instructional materials. I am happy to report there's no complaints, but we do need to hold the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and call the public hearing in progress. Ms. Brooks, do we have anyone that wishes to speak on this item? Is there anyone holding online?
No comments by phone at this time, setting 30 seconds on the clock.
Thank you.
Thirty seconds have passed, and we have no comments by phone at this time.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or statements from the board? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Creel. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Chan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you, sir. Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is L4, approve construction management services contract for Justin Garza High School Visual and Performing Arts Center. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. So this item we discussed at the last meeting, a construction management service contract with for the VAPA building at Justin Garza with Measure D bond funds, and this would be with CM firm Bush Construction for this project. This is a contract that is similar to the one that the board approved last month for the aquatics and ball fields with Mark Wilson Construction. So at this time, we're recommending the board approve this contract for the Justin Garza Visual and Performing Arts Center. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or statements from the board? With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Mr. Cervantes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is L5, approve construction management services contract for new elementary school at Shields and Brawley. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. This construction management contract was also brought for information at the last board meeting. This would be with Kitchell Incorporated, which is one of the CM firms that we interviewed as part of our pool a couple months ago. We are recommending that the board approve this contract for the new elementary school at Shields and Brawley. This project is DSA approved at this time, and so we're anxious to get the project started, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or statements from the board? Mr. Maley.
Just one question. Mr. McLean, the construction company we're using, was it Bush Construction?
For this project would be Kitchell.
Kitchen,
Yeah.
okay. No, I just, so the construction management is different than the company we're contracting to build, or is it the same?
I'm sorry, could you say
So the
that
company
again?
that's building, the construction company building it, that's separate than this management agreement though, correct?
Yeah, so this agreement, the management company would help us with managing the project. So this is, the board previously approved the CM multi-prime delivery method, so we will actually be contracting directly with multiple contractors for each part of the construction.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or statements? Ms. Creel?
Since this is a new project, can you just give us like a quick overview of how it's going to be managed? So I know you said we're going to contract with other subcontractors. So to address Trustee Mailing's question, my understanding is Bush Construction is a general contractor, right? Or do they do specialized areas as well?
They do. They won't be actually doing construction. Again, they will be used to manage the project. So the district will contract directly with different trades, for instance, plumbing, electrical, concrete, all those different functions. But they will work with us on constructability review at the front with the architect. They will help us with the bidding process, and then we'll work with them as a partner through the entire project.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. McLean. So during the high school construction project, whenever there were issues or change orders, we had a couple of documents that were presented to us. They were presented by our own staff, and in this case, it'll be similar documents
Yes, if we do have.
provided by the construction management
Yeah,
firm, right?
we'll have the same process in terms of any change orders. We'll go through those with the architect and with the CM firm and make recommendations, and then we will have information with a change order explaining the nature of each one of those change orders, whether it was involved the architect's responsibility or the contractor, and we'll talk through those with the board. Same process.
Okay, thank you. So in those interactions between the construction manager and the contractor and us, I'm assuming we're going to be present at those meetings as well? And how does our chain of authority work on this?
Yeah, it's a collaborative process with us and the CM firm and going through those and working with the architect as well.
So how is our, I guess, chain of authority on this project work?
Well, ultimately, any changes to the cost on the project would be subject to our approval and then brought to the board for approval.
Okay, so our point person would be who?
Our facilities director, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board or statements? Thank you. I have a motion to approve by Mr. Cervantes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul. Calling the item. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Thank you. Can you call the next item, Ms. Lopez?
Last item under action is L6, discuss and approve governance handbook. Superintendent Davis.
Thank you. This item comes back from the board workshop with the changes made or tried to be captured from all of our discussion, wanting to collect any edits or notations that you may have. And then certainly I'm recommending, once we answer the questions, that we act upon this.
Thank you. Any questions or statements from the board? Ms. Creel?
I apologize for not submitting these revisions prior to, but I do have some revisions that I'd like the board to consider. On page 2, the second paragraph under pulling items from consent, where it says, in the spirit of no surprises, board members will notify the superintendent or president. I would like to add, to the extent possible, prior to the start of the board meeting. I just want to make sure that if for whatever reason we're not able to do that, whoever still has a question isn't dissuaded from at least notifying administration. And I know I'm guilty of that right now, so. The first paragraph, similar language under getting questions answered about items on the agenda, where it says, out of courtesy to staff and to ensure effective board meetings, whenever possible, board members will ask questions, or to the extent possible. Again, just some qualifiers.
I wrote whenever possible. Is that all right with you all?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 4, the bottom paragraph regarding communications during meetings. I have significant concerns with the language related to restricting board members from communicating with each other or with the public. I know that this is also board bylaw, and so this is something that I would request be brought back to the board for consideration. There's been significant changes in case law related to these situations, so if it's still something that the board has consensus and wants to continue to move forward. I don't like the language. I understand, and I think if my fellow colleagues don't, our communications are subject to Public Records Act requests, but I think it's different when we're specifically saying that we're not going to be talking to each other or to the community during meetings. So I would propose removing that whole section until the board reviews Board Bylaw 9012 for adoption or revision. Page 5, motions and deliberation, I would recommend adding after on action items, comma, generally the order is as follows, just in the event that the board president follows a different method. On page 7, under spokesperson, I'd recommend citing to our board policy. I think it's cited in another section, but just reassuring.
I think I just jotted it on
You
yours
did.
as well. It's board bylaw. Do you have-
9121.
9121. Yeah, that was just missed.
And then one other, just for conforming purposes, page 11, just to go through and capitalize Ds when we're referring to the district and when we're referring to the board and the superintendent, just for consistency purposes, since they are specific individuals and groups that we're referring to. Other than that, those are all my recommended revisions, if the board would like to discuss.
Thank you. Any other questions? Statements? Ms. Davis, is this time sensitive?
No, I think it's brought to you based on the request that I get it to you all as quickly as possible, so.
Well, if there is consensus of the board, can we go ahead and have staff make the changes as Ms. Creel stated and then bring back the complete document to us at the next board meeting? Is there consensus to do that? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Ms. Creel?
I don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Mailing? Mr. Chan? Mr. Paul? Okay, there's consensus, so the staff gets one more board meeting to get it right.
Okay.
Can you please send your changes to Ms. Davis?
That was going to be my question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'll have this item come back as an action item. Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Moving on to information items. First item is M1, receive information regarding revised board policies. Superintendent Davis.
Thank you. We just made reference to a few of them. There are 10 bylaws that have updates. They are much briefer than some of the board policy you typically receive, and so I hope that there is time for you to go through these. You'll notice all of the adjustments that are noted are in struck through or red and green, and the resources attached to it. There is probably, based on the feedback from the handbook that was received that you'd like changed, I'll have to go back through on a couple policies and make sure it's consistent. There are a few things that it sounds like you'd like added that we need to make sure align with this. There was a discussion that we had at the workshop regarding meeting conduct, and there was some language that was requested to add in. And you will see that the definition and some of the language that you had asked for is also included in the meeting conduct, which is Board Bylaws 9323. So when you see that highlighted in yellow, that's the additions that are added in. In most cases, there are in a couple of cases, there are places where CSBA will say this is optional if you want to do this. What in review of them, we just made sure whatever is already in place within the way you operate as a board, if there was an update, we added it and made the adjustment. We didn't change any of the options. The only one I will bring to you that you will notice as you go through it is in board bylaws 9320, I believe. Oh, I hope I got it right here. There is a notice for the agenda that allows, anytime somebody speaks and there is a student's name that's used, a parent has the right to redact their student's name from the minutes. And that is an optional statement that can be included in the agenda and printed on all of our agendas in a meeting. And so you'll see when you scan through it, that's the only spot where there's a note of optional. Sorry to give you so many at one time, but I know they need to be updated. There are adjustments and new laws, and I want to make sure that these are current. So take your time to read them and let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, we recommend it comes back next meeting.
Thank you. Any questions or statements from the board? Ms. Creel?
2 questions. So the notice, and I haven't gone through the language, so I apologize if it's included. Does it identify whether it's going to be printed in multiple languages? So the notice to the parents or guardian of their right to request that the student's name be redacted? Because I don't oppose including it on our agenda. I understand our agenda is currently printed in English, but I think I would want at least that section to be printed in
We would
other
have to add
languages.
that language in. If that's something we want, we would have to add that into it.
Yeah, I don't know if the board has any other thoughts, but I feel like that would be important for our community to be able to understand in the, there's specific terminology, so I apologize for not using it correctly, but the majority languages spoken, 5 or 10%, I think, of the
It's 15%.
15%, there we go. Yeah.
So Spanish and Punjabi, everything is.
And then the only other question I have with respect to Board Bylaw 9323 in the highlighted language, is there a definition for presiding member of the legislative body, or is that it's supposed to mean the board president, the members of the board?
Let me get to the same spot as you. That is taken from the language in the brief that we were looking at, where there was a recommendation. We can certainly change the language to just the board president. That would be consistent with the paragraph above.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Correct.
probably request board president or board or members of the board or something, but I would want to define who we're referring to. But other than that,
I think the intent of it was that it's the board president, because you had it fixed in
everywhere
the
else,
paragraph
right.
below.
Yeah.
We'll adjust that before that one comes back too.
Thank you.
Any other questions or statements from the board? Ms. Davis, will you be able to have these items translated in the appropriate languages by the next board meeting?
I think the question for clarification is just the statement about a parent's right to change or redact a student's name, that statement that go on agenda, the request is that would be able to be translated.
So I would probably
Right.
propose that we revise the policy to say that it will be provided, it will be made available in the language spoken by 15% or more. So that moving forward, that's included, and then the agenda actually has the printed language in the multiple languages, right?
The statement about the redaction of a
Correct.
student's name, we're just talking, it's
Yes.
a sentence that would be available in multiple languages.
Yes. Does that make sense, President Solis? Okay, thank you.
With that, what's the pleasure of the board? Would you like this placed on action when it comes back? I can't hear you, sir.
It'd have to be if you're going to make any revisions.
Okay.
I mean, I can always pull the item. I mean, I'll go with whatever. If there's a need, I will let you know before the meeting if I need to pull the item.
I'll tell you
and
what, I'll
get
just place it
revisions.
as action.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It's coming back as action. Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is M2, receive information regarding resolution number 21/22-24, designating Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 as the annual organizational meeting of the Board of Trustees. Superintendent Davis.
Thank you. This item is presented to alert the community of Resolution 21/22-24, designating December 13th as the annual organizational meeting. I'd like to ask that this item return to November 8th as an action item.
Thank you. Questions or statements from the board? Consent? Okay. I'll put the item as consent. Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is M3, receive information for employee out-of-state travel. Dr. Boatwright.
Thank you. The following request for out-of-state travel is attached. The Central East High School Band Director would like to attend the Midwest Clinic International Band and Orchestra Conference. Administration is recommending this item be placed on the November 8th board agenda for action.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? What's the pleasure of the board? Consent? Okay, I'll put it as consent.
Thank you.
Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is M4, receive information regarding field trips. Mrs. Bergman.
Good evening, Board President Solis, Superintendent Davis, and members of the board. Requests for overnight field trips and day trips over 150 miles must obtain board approval. Tonight, there are 10 field trip requests for your approval for the following schools: Central East High School, Justin Garza High School, and Houghton Kearney Elementary. Documentation is attached. Administration is recommending approval and that these items be placed on the November 8th agenda for action. I am happy to answer any questions on this item.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or statements from the board? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board? Consent? Consent it is. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Lopez, can you call the next item?
Next item on the agenda is M5, receive information regarding the 2022-2023 dates for the elementary schools attending sixth grade camp. Mr. Garrett.
Nope.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Bennington.
Good evening, Board President Solis, Superintendent Davis, and members of the board. Contracts must obtain board approval. Tonight there are two schools, Roosevelt Elementary and Steinbeck Elementary, requesting approval for contracts to have students attend the Wonder Valley Educational Camp. Documentation is attached. Administration is recommending approval and that these items be placed on the November 8th agenda for action, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions or statements from the board? Ms. Creel?
Thank you for bringing this item. More of a question for Superintendent Davis and a thought that I just had. Do we ever invite any of the sixth grade students if they want to come and present to the board or just share their experience from the camp? I know that our meetings are late and so may not be appropriate, but I wonder if we could just extend an invitation. I'd love to hear from students if they want to share and willing.
We're actually trying to balance the first meeting to be when our high school students come and the second meeting to have something student-related at the start of each meeting, whether it be music or spoken word. We could certainly move in a report from one of the schools. There's many that go, so we could have somebody come in and or some of them come in to share that.
Yeah, if they want to.
Oh, they'll want to.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions from the board or statements? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board? Consent? It will be placed on the consent agenda. Ms. Lopez, can you call the last item, please?
Last item under information is M6, receive information regarding security camera upgrades. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. So tonight, district staff is recommending the upgrade of the camera system at Houghton Kearney K-8 school using a piggyback bid and with a contract with Magnetar, who's installed a lot of our cameras in the past. Administration is recommending that this item be placed on the November 8th board agenda for action, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or statements from the board? Mr. Cervantes.
Mr. McLean, I'm sorry if this was in here, I overlooked it, but what are these cameras' ability to see at night, or to see faces at night, other than figures?
They do have ability of that. It obviously takes some lighting to do so, but yeah, there is the ability to take pictures at night as well.
They have, okay. The technology, is that good?
The technology is always
It's
improving.
best, yeah, it's always evolving. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, statements? Ms. Creel?
So are we making sure that the areas that we're installing are well lit, or that we're monitoring to make sure that there's enough lighting so we can capture those images?
Yeah, so each school that's being evaluated is, there's a walkthrough that's happening with district staff, with our maintenance staff, as well as with the vendor. And the principal is involved in the discussion as well. So we're just making sure that we can optimize the cameras throughout the campus.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or statements? I'll go ahead and place it on consent. Thank you, sir. Next item is N, Advanced Planning. Ms. Davis?
It is attached and there are no changes.
Okay, thank you. Additional information or closing comments? Ms. Davis? Board? Our next meeting will be November 8th. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Ms. Creel, a second by Mr. Chan. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.